Brand new update with Dartz and Noah. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Now, by this point, you've probably seen Duel Links just got one of the coolest and biggest updates that we've had in a while, actually kind of bringing back some of the flavor back to the original game with bringing Noah and Dartz. Probably two of the most notorious villains, I like to say. I mean, Noah was kind of just filler, but, well, actually, both of them feel like they were just very much filler. But Dartz had so much going for him as an evil character. It was kind of insane. So basically, what they've done here is they've brought in all of this cool new stuff. Dragon Master Knight's getting a speed duel version. Five-Headed Dragon's getting, a rush duel overall OR version. And of course, they're just giving out all of this crazy new stuff. Dark Magician, speed duel. That's not what we're here for. Typically, when things like this happen, it usually signals to the player base and to Konami, hey, you can be expecting some support for these cards in the actual TCG version at some point. And I had to pull up Noah Kaiba's Yugipedia page here just to kind of step through this. You gotta remember, this guy was from the old Virtual World arc where, I guess you could just win people's bodies and take over them in this world. It was a very interesting time, but down here, Noah had two decks. Noah had the creation deck, which was basically a symbolic creation of Earth, which would basically allow him to use elements and things like that. And we kind of got very, very biblical with this because, we had Shinato, the king of a higher plane, but we've also, had the Ice Age panic, the giant flood. It's kind of crazy to me that they basically gave Noah this, sort of deck. Now, after Yugi issued a challenge, Noah added a number of cards to turn his deck into a spirit deck. Now, this deck was chosen to maximize the advantage of his high life point lead and to effectively nullify the weakness of his previous deck, showing him to withstand multiple direct attacks without fear after his monsters returned to his hand. He also used things like Spring of Rebirth and Sebek's Blessing. Now, we have been getting new spirit support for quite a little while now. Konami's definitely been tossing in, little bits and pieces, but the thing here was, there was the Shinato that we saw. Now, this is a much different Shinato than what we were used to seeing because it still basically is a ritual monster. But it says, when a Shinato King of the higher plane destroys an opponent's defense monster resolve battle, have your opponent's life points, and you gain life points equal to the damage that Shinato, King of a higher plane, did. Now, for this being an effect monster, that doesn't seem too bad. But when we come back here to Shinato, you're going to notice, those ritual cards that we, needed for this, they're not here. Is it Deepest Impact? No. Destroy all monsters and half both players' life points. That's a broken card that we could see be made into a reality, but I don't really think that's going to be a case. What about something like Giant Flood? Send all monsters on the field in both players' hands to the graveyard. Once again, a very generic good card, but no, what about something like Earthshaker? Select two monster attributes. Your opponent selects one of the two attributes and destroy all monsters that. That's an old card, but it's just not going to happen. The Energy Settlement, you guys remember this, right? Thing that keeps the spirit monsters in play. I could imagine that we will see a Shinato retrain somewhere along the way. It very much is a very realistic possibility here that we could see, especially with what we're dealing with, Shinato's original form. I wouldn't be surprised to see Konami just take original spirit support and just kind of assign more generic-esque cards for it. Now, y'all know I am the biggest Orichalcos, fan that you could ever possibly be out here. I have loved this deck. I love the possibility of, how this deck gets the chance to play. It's great. Now, you gotta remember, Mr. Dartz here had a whole crazy amount of crazy cards that we never got the chance to get. Now, probably one of the ones we did get that is probably the most dumbed down was actually the Divine Serpent, which this thing had infinite attack points. It's just still a crazy thing to just know that you could basically step into this. And then he can't declare an attack unless, you mill the top 10 cards of your deck. And then while you control this card, you can't lose the duel. But I mean, if it just can never attack because you can't mill cards from your deck, well, congratulations, everybody. You found a win condition to stop the Divine Serpent from getting a chance to win the game. Now, there was also the fact that Shunaros acted differently in this show, and it basically had the ability for its arms to basically act as independent monsters, which one would always have 300 more attack than the monsters battling. The other one would always have 300 more defense than the monster that it was constantly battling. And that's what made things like Aristoros and Dexia such formidable things, because you always had one ultimate attacker and one ultimate defender, which was a crazy concept for back in the day. Now, we also did have Orichalcos Gygas. When this face-up card is on the field, you cannot draw a card or cards. Yeah, that's not necessarily a crazy thing, but if this card is destroyed, you can special summon it, but it cannot attack this turn. And it gains 500 attack times the number of times it was special summoned during this duel. Now, it acts a little bit differently than, you would think that it would for a card, because it's constantly counting how many times it's been beamed onto the field, which is an interesting takeaway, I will say. I definitely didn't expect, Gygas to actually matter on this front. And then Qtora. This is personally one of the craziest cards to exist, because this can't be normal summoner set. You have to special summon this card from your hand by paying 500 life. Sure, that was never going to be a problem. And while face up in the field, all battle damage you take from battles involving your monsters that you control becomes 0. And when this guy goes away, you literally just get to beam out Shunaros for literally no reason. Now, we also had Malevolence, which literally was a pretty simple card. It just said, if you attack a opponent's defense division monster, you get to change it to face-up attack mode. For how subpar that is, that's a 1,500, but under 2K from Seal of Orichalcos. This becomes a little bit more problematic. We also did have Shunaros itself. This card is so crazy. So this thing can't be normal summoned or set. It has to be special summoned by the effect of Qtora. And then the original attack and defense of this becomes equal to the amount of damage you reduce to 0 by the effect of Qtora. When summoned, you can special summon its 2 arms. After damage calculation of this card battled, it loses attack equal to either attack position monster or defense position monster, depending on the position. And when this card is destroyed while its attack is 0, you can pay 10,000 life points, discard your entire hand to summon the Divine Serpent. I really wish that we had maintained that clause on it. Then we had the Mirror Knight Calling, which allowed you to summon the 4 Mirage Knight tokens, each with a counter on them, that would basically get the chance to reflect damage, which was crazy. And then we also had the 2 other layers of the Seal of Orichalcos. Now, I could imagine a time where we could see Deuteros coming out. I am curious to know, because the seal can be activated when there is the matching Orichalcos. You can strengthen the seal and use it. You can also recover life force, and the seal is unaffected by the attacks of the Unforgiven. And then the poem is actually unknown for Tritos. That's kind of cool. You guys also might remember we had the Twin Boasts, and its card says you cannot declare an attack during the turn you activate this card, but once per turn, you can select one monster you control and one monster your opponent controls, toss a coin. If you call it right, remove from play the monster your opponent controls and inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the original attack. If you call it wrong, remove from play the monster you control and take damage equal to its original attack. I could actually see this being printed in the TCG. It doesn't really seem all that broken. And then we had the Martyr Curse. When a monster you control is destroyed, force one of your monsters and your opponent's monsters to battle. Your opponent can activate their monster effects at this time, which is actually really, really cool. But I mean, this Duel Links update pretty much tells us that we can expect some of these cards possibly be made in the next year or so. There's a premium pack coming. I wouldn't be surprised to see something coming there. But what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.